We leave now the high mountain groves, where the cedars stand in their ancient silence, and we descend. The path winds downward through rocky terrain, past outcroppings of pale limestone and patches of scrubby brush, until the air grows warmer and the landscape opens into the rolling hills of the Levant. Here, where the soil is thin and the sun beats down upon the stony ground, we will find a humbler plant, one that asks for little and gives much. Let your breathing settle into a slow and easy rhythm. Let your body grow still. We are going to spend some time now with hyssop, a plant of doorways and thresholds, of purification and healing, a plant that has been gathered by human hands since the very earliest days of memory. Picture yourself standing on a hillside in the late afternoon. The sun has begun its descent toward the western sea, and the light falls golden and warm across the landscape. The air carries a scent that is at once familiar and strange, something between oregano and thyme, with undertones of mint and a faint pepperiness that catches at the back of your throat. This is the fragrance of hyssop. The plants grow in loose clusters among the rocks, their stems rising perhaps a meter from the ground, sometimes less. They have a certain wildness to them, a refusal to grow in tidy rows or predictable patterns. Instead, they follow the contours of the land, seeking out pockets of soil between the stones, anchoring themselves wherever they can find purchase. The leaves are soft to the touch, covered in a fine down that gives them a grayish-green color, like sage leaves left too long in the sun. They crowd together along the stems, small and oval, releasing their oils at the slightest pressure. Rub a leaf between your fingers and the scent intensifies, filling the air around you with that warm, herbal complexity that has made this plant so valued for so many centuries. At the tips of the stems, small flowers cluster in branching panicles, delicate blooms of white or the palest pink. They are modest flowers, easily overlooked, but the bees do not overlook them. Even now, in the slanting afternoon light, you can hear the low hum of insects moving from bloom to bloom, gathering the nectar that will become the wild honey of these hills. Stand here for a moment. Let the warmth of the sun settle into your skin. Let the fragrance of the hyssop fill your lungs with each slow breath. This is a place of quiet abundance, where life persists despite the harshness of the terrain, where small things flourish in the spaces between the stones. The plant we call biblical hyssop is known to science as Origanum syriacum and it belongs to the great family of mints, the Lamiaceae. This is a family of aromatic herbs, plants whose leaves and stems are rich in essential oils, plants that have been used for cooking and medicine and ceremony since the very dawn of human culture. Oregano, thyme, basil, rosemary, lavender, all of these are cousins to the hyssop, sharing that characteristic fragrance that speaks of warmth and nourishment and home. But the identification of biblical hyssop has not always been certain. For many centuries, scholars assumed that the hyssop of Scripture was Hyssopus officinalis a different plant entirely, one native to the cooler regions of Europe. It was the Jewish oral tradition, preserved through generations of careful observation and memory, that pointed to Origanum syriacum as the true of the Hebrew texts. The Arabic speakers of the region know it as *ziata*, and they have gathered it from these hillsides for as long as anyone can remember. The plant is a perennial herb, returning year after year from its established roots. It grows upright and rigid, with stems that become somewhat woody at the base as the plant matures. A full-grown hyssop may reach a meter in height, though most specimens are somewhat smaller, perhaps 60 or 70 centimeters from root to flower tip. The leaves are the plant's most distinctive feature. They are densely packed along the stems, oval in shape with slightly toothed edges, and covered in that characteristic velvety down that gives them their soft, gray-green appearance. Each leaf measures perhaps 2 to 3 centimeters in length, small enough to fit comfortably on your thumbnail, yet packed with the aromatic oils that have made this plant so precious. 3 subspecies are recognized by the botanists who study such things. Origanum syriacum subspecies syriacum grows throughout the Levant, from the hills of Judea to the mountains of Syria. Subspecies Botany ranges from Cyprus northward to the Lebanese coast. And subspecies syriacum clings to the rocky slopes of the Sinai Peninsula, where the soil is even thinner and the rains even more scarce. Each of these subspecies has adapted to its particular place, learning to survive on what the land provides. And what the land provides, in these regions, is often very little indeed. The hyssop asks for little from the soil. It prefers a neutral to slightly alkaline substrate, with a pH hovering around 6.25, though it will tolerate a fair range on either side of that optimum. What it cannot tolerate is wet feet. The roots must be allowed to dry between waterings, or they will rot in the sodden earth and the plant will perish. This is a plant of the dry places, the rocky hillsides where the rain falls briefly and then drains away, leaving the soil parched and waiting for the next storm. The hyssop has learned to make the most of these brief moments of moisture, sending its roots deep into the cracks between the stones, storing what it can in its tissues against the long dry months ahead. The regions where hyssop thrives are scattered across the eastern Mediterranean. You will find it in Syria, where it grows wild on the slopes above the ancient cities. You will find it in Israel and Jordan, clinging to the hillsides where shepherds have walked for millennia. You will find it in southern Turkey and in the mountains of Lebanon, always seeking out the same conditions: full sun, well-drained soil, and the freedom to grow as it pleases. The plant does best in positions of full sunlight, though it will tolerate a bit of shade during the hottest part of the day. It requires no coddling, no special attention. Once established, it will grow and spread and reseed itself without any help from human hands. This is a plant that has been taking care of itself for a very long time. The water requirements are low, as one might expect from a plant of the dry lands. A deep watering once every week or two is sufficient during the growing season, and even less during the cooler months when the plant is dormant. The hyssop does not want to be pampered. It wants to be left alone, to find its own way in the stony soil, to follow the rhythms that have governed its existence since long before anyone thought to cultivate it. And yet cultivate it we have, for the hyssop offers gifts that are not easily refused. The leaves contain a complex mixture of essential oils, dominated by compounds called thymol and gamma-terpenine and p-cymene. These are the molecules that give hyssop its distinctive fragrance, that warm and herbal scent with its hints of pepper and mint. But they also possess properties that the ancients discovered through long experience, properties of preservation and purification, of cleansing and healing. The traditional method of preparation was simple. The leaves were gathered at the height of their fragrance, usually in the morning after the dew had dried but before the heat of midday caused the volatile oils to evaporate. They were spread in thin layers in the shade, turned occasionally to ensure even drying, and then crumbled or ground into a fine powder that could be stored for months without losing its potency. This powder found its way into countless preparations. It was mixed with salt and sesame seeds to create the seasoning blend still known as *ziata*, a staple of Levantine cuisine for thousands of years. It was steeped in water to create infusions for treating ailments of the throat and chest. It was burned as incense, filling rooms with its cleansing smoke. And it was gathered into bundles, tied with cord, and used as a kind of brush or aspergillum for the application of sacred liquids in rituals of purification. The Talmudic sources speak of these preparations in considerable detail. They describe the mixing of hyssop with the ashes of the red heifer, as prescribed in the Book of Numbers, to create the waters of purification used for cleansing those who had come into contact with the dead. The hyssop served as the delivery mechanism, its absorbent leaves soaking up the sacred liquid and then releasing it when shaken or pressed against the person or object being purified. There is something deeply human in this use. The plant becomes an extension of the hand, a tool for reaching across the boundary between the profane and the sacred, for carrying the healing waters from one realm to another. The hyssop does not merely grow on the hillside. It participates in the most intimate rituals of human life, in the moments when we seek to cleanse ourselves of what has been and prepare ourselves for what is to come. Open the book of Exodus, the 12th chapter, and you will find the hyssop at the very heart of the Passover narrative. The Israelites are preparing to flee from Egypt. The final plague is about to fall upon the land, and the angel of death will pass through the streets, claiming the firstborn of every household. But those who mark their doorposts with the blood of the sacrificial lamb will be spared. And the instrument of that marking, the tool that carries the blood from the basin to the wooden frame of the door, is a bunch of hyssop. Consider the image. The night is dark, the streets are silent, and in every Israelite home a family gathers around the table where the lamb has been prepared. The father takes a bundle of hyssop stems, their soft leaves still fragrant with oil, and dips it into the basin of blood. He reaches up and strikes the lintel above the door, then the two doorposts on either side, leaving streaks of crimson against the weathered wood. The hyssop absorbs the blood and releases it, tracing the outline of salvation against the darkness. This is a moment of threshold, of passage from one state to another. And the hyssop, that humble plant of the hillside, becomes the agent of transformation. We find the hyssop again in Leviticus, in the rituals prescribed for the purification of those afflicted with certain skin diseases. The 14th chapter describes a ceremony involving two birds, cedar wood, scarlet yarn, and hyssop. One bird is killed, and the living bird, along with the cedar and the hyssop and the yarn, is dipped in the blood mixed with fresh water. Then the living bird is released into the open field, and the purified person is sprinkled 7 times with the mixture that remains. The same elements appear in the 19th chapter of Numbers, in the preparation of the waters used for cleansing those who have touched a corpse. Cedar wood, hyssop, and scarlet yarn are thrown into the fire where the red heifer is burning, and their ashes become part of the sacred mixture that restores the ritually impure to a state of wholeness. And then, at the very end of the Gospel narratives, the hyssop appears once more. In the accounts of Matthew and Mark, we read that a sponge soaked in sour wine was lifted to the lips of Jesus as he hung upon the cross. The Gospel of John specifies that this sponge was placed upon a branch of hyssop, raised up to reach the dying man. The implication is of a stem 3 or 4 feet in length, which accords well with what we know of mature Origanum syriacum plants growing in favorable conditions. There is a quiet symmetry here. The hyssop that marked the doorposts at the first Passover, sparing the Israelites from death, now appears at the moment of the final sacrifice. The plant of purification attends the moment of ultimate redemption. Whether by design or coincidence, the hyssop has woven itself into the deepest narratives of faith. The sun has set now over the hillside. The golden light has faded to rose and then to gray, and the first stars are beginning to appear in the eastern sky. The hyssop plants have closed their flowers for the night, drawing inward as the temperature drops, conserving their precious moisture against the cool hours ahead. The fragrance lingers in the air, fainter now but still present, that warm herbal scent that has accompanied us through the afternoon. It is a comforting smell, a smell of home and hearth and healing. It speaks of the countless generations who have gathered this plant from these same hillsides, who have dried it and ground it and used it in their kitchens and their temples and their sick rooms. Let that fragrance settle into your memory now. Let it become part of the landscape of your rest, a gentle reminder of the quiet gifts that the earth offers to those who know where to look. The hyssop does not demand attention. It does not tower over the landscape like the cedar or spread its branches in majestic display. It simply grows where it is planted, offering its leaves and its flowers and its oils to whoever might need them. It is a plant of service, of humble usefulness, of participation in the rituals that mark the turning points of human life. And perhaps there is something to be learned from that humility. Perhaps, in the quiet hours of the night, we might allow ourselves to be like the hyssop, rooted where we are, offering what we have, trusting that our small contributions matter even if they are not celebrated or praised. The stars are brighter now, scattered across the sky like seeds thrown by some cosmic hand. The night creatures are beginning to stir, the small rustlings and chirpings that form the background music of the darkness. And you, resting here in the stillness, can let go of the day's demands and simply be. You do not need to purify anything tonight. You do not need to mark any doorposts or prepare any sacred waters. You need only rest, as the hyssop rests in the cool night air, waiting for the sun to rise again and bring another day of quiet growth. Close your eyes. Let your breathing slow. Let the fragrance of the hillside carry you gently toward sleep. The hyssop will be here in the morning, as it has been here for thousands of mornings before this one. And you will wake refreshed, ready to walk again among the ancient plants that have sustained and comforted humanity since the very beginning. Sleep now. Sleep, and be at peace.